Okay guys, so my name's Tony Goodman is my name. I'm not American, as you can see. I live in America. And I just thought it'd be good for, have you all jumped in the States? You jumped in the States. Okay, if you're thinking of going to America, I just thought it'd be good just to briefly highlight some of the differences between the USPA system and the BPA system, because I see it on a regular basis where people come over and they get totally mind-blocked with the differences in the system. They think they can come over and just basically do what the BPA says they're going to do, etc. Now there are many drop zones obviously in America that have BPA instructors. Of course I'm out there as well. But it's on return to the UK where the problems usually occur with students or experienced people alike turning up back at the drop zones. So I operate, basically my background is I did 25 years in the Army over here. I moved over to the West Coast of California where I still reside, and I worked at Paris. We've all heard of Paris Valley Skydiving, of course. So Paris, and I was over there not in a skydiving role, it was more of a government contracting role. So I took up the position down there, I worked there for like 8 years, I then jumped ship. I now work at Skydive San Diego, again, not on the skydiving side, again on the military government contracting side. More connected with the military freefall for the Special Forces, both nationally and internationally. Skydive San Diego and the company that I work for, Tactical Air Operations, we basically train all the Navy SEALs in the US at Skydive San Diego, put them through their course from basically 0 to hero, over a combination of 3 weeks, both static line and freefall, from AFF level 1 right through to oxygen at night, weapons, equipment, etc. So it's very fast tracked.
How many jumps is that normally for that 3 week period for them?
Anywhere between 45 and 60. Depending on the weather. We can condense that, of course, within that period. We also have just been awarded the contract for the United States Air Force, which is very similar. So technically, we've got the 2 biggest contracts in military freefall on that drop zone, which you're going to see firsthand. Which you're going to see firsthand when you come out. So yeah. So I was over there. I'm a BPA AFF examiner, current. I'm a USPA AFF Instructor, coach, and also an SNTA, so Safety and Training Advisor within the USPA. So what I'm going to cover today, guys, very briefly, is obviously skydiving in the United States, what you need to know. Okay, the objectives, little brief history of the USPA, where to jump, the travel, insurance requirements, safety information for the drop zone, student and experience training, because obviously the student training side, you're all skydivers, so you can pass this on, to your clubs, etc. And of course, wind tunnels. A brief history of the USPA. The USPA has been around substantially longer than the BPA. The USPA was founded in 1946. People are jumping there. 1946 in New York. Okay, and it was called the United States Parachuting and Riggers Incorporation is what it was called. It then became the USPA in 1967, and its head office is now in Fredericksburg in Virginia, on the East Coast. Okay, the organisation, unlike the BPA, because we live in such a small country, the organisation is obviously very vast. Okay, you couldn't have anything like this within, like the BPA structure within the USPA. So therefore, the USPA protect themselves. The USPA protect themselves in the sense that they don't have an operations manual. I mean, I've got 2 manuals here. They have a Skydiver's information manual and they have an instructor rating manual. The instructor rating manual are rules and regulations. The skydiving information manual is recommendations, and that's how the USPA operate. They do not implement rules for the drop zone, they implement recommendations, and that covers them for liability issues. Unlike the BPA, the ops manual, what they say is how we have to abide. What the USPA says, this is what we recommend, and they leave it to drop zone managers, / chief instructors implement their own DZ rules and regulations. That's how most drop zones in the US that are affiliated to the USPA operate. The size, they actually have on average around 39,000 full members of the USPA, carrying out some 3.2 to 3.5 million parachute descents within the US every year. Of course, we all know the big clubs. There are, in fact, 220 parachute clubs that are affiliated to the USPA within the United States. Okay, so it's quite a big organisation, varying as far north as Alaska, and of course as far south as, I guess, San Diego would be the furthest, because next door is Mexico. And of course you've got Florida on the East Coast. So it's very, very vast. You know, within the organisation itself, as Brits, we associate ourselves with the bigger drop zones, you know, so you've got DeLand on the East Coast, you've got Skydive Chicago, you've got Spaceland, you've got Texas, you've got, and of course most people go to the West Coast because of the weather, it's more favourable. Even Florida, to be honest, I don't recommend anybody going to Florida because Florida's Florida and you've got the weather in Florida, stormy season, you know, etc. The West Coast of America, basically including California, doesn't have to be Skydive San Diego, has the most stable climate within the US. You know, on average, it's anywhere between 70 and 80 degrees every single day within the year. All right, and of course you've got the three main clubs on the West Coast: San Diego, Paris, and Aerosmith, that we probably are all familiar with. And again, I've just highlighted the structure. The structure is made up of board directors, regional directors, and national directors. Okay, it's all voted by the members as well. The structure of the USPA, again, it's very difficult to control. Hence why they have regional directors located over the different drop zones. Okay, so you can pretty much see where most of the drop zones. There are obviously the smaller drop zones. Have you seen the movie Fandango?
Yeah.
If you haven't, watch it. Because there are parachute clubs like that within the US. Don't watch the whole movie, just watch the skydiving scene in that movie. It's class, isn't it? You know, let's face it. So Fandango, I'll put that in your books to watch. Okay, so yeah, 220 clubs located all over the country, regional directors, national directors, and the national directors are the main, like the council of the BPA. They are elected by the board, okay, in Virginia. So for instance, I know Bill Booth is very instrumental within the USPA. The president at the moment, he jumps actually in Skydive San Diego, Jay Stokes, yeah, so they are located all over the country, as you can imagine. So, where do we jump? Okay, where to jump, and you know, a lot of this information, guys, it would be great if you just take it back to your drop zones and just, you know, pass on whatever information you feel relevant. Where do you jump? And there's a lot of factors that come into that. There's the cost, the weather, what your personal requirements are, what you want from the drop zone, the nearest airport, the drop zone facilities, / the surrounding area, and I'll highlight on that. The aircraft, what aircraft are you going to use, the drop zone history, and of course what is important is the safety record, because even though we're in America, and let's face it, none of you American, by the way, you know, we do have a problem sometimes with the Americans. They do feel that they are this superpower that likes to rule the world, you know. The cost. Now people seem to think that going to the West Coast is more expensive than going to the East Coast because it's further west. Whereas in fact it's cheaper to fly to Los Angeles and San Diego than it is to fly into Florida, believe it or not. The flight home here, Los Angeles to Heathrow, was $500 including taxes, direct with Virgin Atlantic. You know, prices are very cheap at the moment to fly to America, without a doubt. So cost is a major factor, and it's not just the flight of the travel, there's other factors as well. You know, how much is the jump ticket? Are you student training? Are you going with students? Are you going with experienced people? Etc. etc. You know, where are you going to stay? So there's a lot of groundwork to be done with the cost. I mean, when on my time in the Army, I was very fortunate that I ran countless expeditions. I probably did more expeditions than anybody else. And I was lucky enough to be in that position to America, so that's where I sort of gained my knowledge and history of the American system before I actually moved over there. So Yeah, cost is a huge factor, guys. But you know, it is actually the way the euro is. I mean, it's almost 1 for 1, isn't it? The euro and the pound. People think that going to Europe is actually cheaper. It isn't. I wouldn't say it was that much cheaper. And the most important thing going to America is you haven't got a language barrier. You know, so although none of them can speak English, but you haven't got a language barrier. The weather. We can go into Europe. We have got stable weather in Spain, for instance, Seville. You know, I know that's very popular. But as I said before, America has a very, very good weather pattern. Southeast, again, Florida. Choose your months when you want to go. Obviously, if you're restricted with time. But I personally stay away from Florida. Plus, you've got the humidity of Florida. Even in Florida, I mean, Florida is like works on like 100% humidity. It's like it's unbearable. Whereas West Coast. Again, selling the West Coast here, aren't I? The West Coast, it's more of a desert style condition, so it's hot, but it's dry. So it's bearable, you know. And of course, the further south you go, the likes of Elsinore, Paris, even drier. And of course, San Diego, which is great because San Diego, we're on the coast, it's generally 10 to 15 degrees cooler than the other drop zones, even in the summer, so it's manageable. Especially if you're out there training, for instance, and you're doing 10 to 15 jumps a day, you know, running around in black jumpsuits, for instance, it's like, it's not good for it. There you go. Personal requirements. So basically, look at the drop zone, go online, do your research. So you need to find out what they've got on the drop zone in terms of not just facilities, but experience level. You know, if you're going to a drop zone, you want to do some free fly coaching, you want to do FS coaching, you want to do wingsuit coaching. You know, most of the big drop zones now have coaches in all disciplines. But not just coaches, you may want to go and see who's got medal winners in that category, you know. So before, you know, don't just look at the drop zone and say, wow, it's got a wind tunnel, it's got sky bands, it's got this, it's like, you know, that sounds great. Of course it sounds great, you know, because they're going to attract you to that drop zone. But you also, if you're going there to attain something, to aspire to something, then just do some research and you know, personal requirements is what you want to find out from their own staff. The nearest airports, of course, that's important as well. You know, you don't want to get landing after a 12-hour flight or 11-hour flight and then driving for 16 hours or whatever, you know. So most of the bigger drop zones, they're within like 2 or 3 hours at least, at the most, from major airports, international airports. Drop zone facilities and the surrounding area, you know, and the classic here is Eloy in Arizona, one of the most popular drop zones in the world, let's face it. You know, it's got an on-site wind tunnel. You know, it's got everything that you need. It's got world champion teams. It's got everything else. But it's in the middle of the desert. You know, and if you're not skydiving, what are you doing? You're catching rattlesnakes and tarantulas. So, you know, what is in the surrounding area? But at the end of the day, if you're there to hardcore team train, at the end of the day, you don't want to do anything else. You just want to maybe have a beer or two and then go to bed. You know, and leave the social stuff to the weekend. So, but again, it depends on the nature of your trip. You know, if you want some, as we call it, R&R, you know, then you want to go somewhere within the States. Let's face it, you go to America, you don't just want to go to America and skydive, come back and say, what did you do? Well, I was on a drop zone in the dirty old desert, didn't do anything. You know, so go and see some of the sites of what America has to offer. You know, aircraft, now that's important as well. You know, what aircraft, I mean, every big drop zone in the States, I mean, like here now in the UK, operate with turbine aeroplanes. You know, twin otters are the most popular, of course, and sky bands from the bigger drop zones. And the main reason for the sky bands is purely from a military perspective, because they like the tailgate, the ramp, because it's the closest thing they can get to a C-130, when, especially when jumping with equipment, weapons, O2, and everything else. So, aircraft are important, and especially if you're going out there team training, you know, prior to a national, international competition, if you're going out there and jumping a twin otter for 3 weeks, suddenly you realise when you're going into a national competition, you're going to be jumping a tailgate, you know, so that's important as well. So make sure that you're jumping the aircraft that you specifically want to be jumping with if you're going into competition. And the drop zone history and the safety record. On average, like I said, the bigger drop zones, I say they're going to have a worse safety record, is not necessarily true, but they do more jumps. So the chances of them having accidents / fatalities is that much higher than the very, very smaller drop zones. You know, so everybody hears like with a big drop zone, somebody bounces, somebody goes in. Oh, yeah, that's the third one this year, that's the fourth one in the last 2 years. It's like, oh, I'm not going to go there. But when you think how many jumps they do per year, it's sort of levels out. But that said, and I'm not going to pick on any drop zones in particular, there are drop zones out there that are very popular with Brits. The bigger drop zones that are very well known that have a bad safety record. And the bad safety record is not because of the individual, as in doing something wrong, because that's, you know, uneventful. Sometimes it's just bad luck for the drop zone that somebody hooks themselves in. That's not through no negligence or fault of the drop zone, no safety fault from the drop zone, but, you know, they're going to injure themselves for personal reasons. If it's negligence through the drop zone, that's where you have to find out, you know, if their safety record. You can contact the USPA at any time. You know, they release this information. The USPA magazine, every month, you get the magazine as a USPA member, releases in that magazine, you get all the accidents that have happened, fatalities, how it happened, etc. Unlike the BPA, they don't do that, you know. But in the USPA magazine, they release everything, you know. They don't tell you what job zone it is on there. But they do release all the accident records. So, the safety record, I think, is important, especially if you're thinking of going there team training, right? So, and more importantly with students. Students is a big one, especially if you're not taking your own instructors. If you're going to use on-site instructors, and I can cover this very briefly later, but the instructor side, it is important to find out what their safety record is for sure. That is important. So travel. Where? How? Who with? Requirements, documentation, the ESTA waiver, if we're not familiar with. Okay, very briefly, the ESTA visa waiver. Everything highlighted in dark blue, if you are traveling from, not to, if you are traveling from these countries, you are required to fill in an ESTA visa waiver. And you're required to do that in this country. Not like on the aeroplane, filling in a form like the waiver forms that you have to fill in as Brits as well. You have to complete the ESTA waiver, visa waiver online, okay? And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's something like 30 days in advance. You might know.
I think we have like a military.
Okay, so if you're going on duty because you're in the military, that's different. Of course, you get a NATO travel order. You can do it that way, okay? But the visa waiver has to be online for Jumping America. There is the official website for the ESTA waiver. Okay, a lot of people. A lot of people forget that. Hi guys.
Right.
I'm nearly done now. Go on.
I've already got to ask questions.
Have you? Okay. You probably won't remember, Chris. It's been that long. Anyway, so the ESTA waiver, alright guys, has to be completed online. That's the official address there. There are a lot of phony ESTA sites out there, but a lot of people forget that because it's easily forgotten because nobody will remind you that you've got to do it, basically. But that's something that's important before you travel. Obviously, scam websites, okay, from the ESTA, that was the official website address that I just gave you. Travel, alright, oh, that's San Diego, there you go. Travel, okay, once you're in the country, you also have to think about where am I going to go, vehicles and all that sort of thing, you know, for when you, obviously once you get there. Depending on where you're going, East Coast, West Coast, some of the centre states, etc. We all prefer to travel direct rather than go, you know, one stop, two stops. But again, it depends on your budget because, you know, sometimes it's cheaper to travel and stop off 2 or 3 times on the way, but it's direct to you. Insurance is a huge one. If you're not familiar, as we all probably, if you're not already aware, the US does not have a national health service, okay? It's a freaking nightmare. American medical care, I've been there 8 years, 9 years, and I still don't understand it, okay? It's basically private healthcare in the States. Everybody out there, you either have healthcare or you don't, all right? Even people that live out there, a lot of people, a lot of skydivers, a lot of skydiving instructors have no medical insurance whatsoever, all right? Of course, you're still going to get treated, however, you forever and a day for the rest of your life, you live in debt and it affects your credit score and everything else, okay? Travel insurance, that's obviously down to you. If you want to take out travel insurance, you know, cover your gear, etc., when you travel. That can be done usually with the airline that you fly with. If you're going through a travel agent, then they can obviously offer you travel insurance as well. Medical insurance, you can do that through the travel agency. However, you've got to go, you can go on the BPA website actually, you've got to find a carrier that will cover you for USA and Canada, and it will cover you for skydiving. Now there's a very, very grey area. People suddenly see parachuting, okay, and you look on the small print, it says static line jump times 1, and that's it, you know, for medical insurance. So make sure you are taking out the right insurance. You've got to find skydiving, unlimited jumps over a period of however long you're traveling for. If you see parachuting, you need to read the small print, because trust me, people have taken it out and it covers you for 1 jump and it's a static line descent, okay? So normally it's cheaper to take out, and even though you're traveling for 2 to 3 weeks, it's cheaper to take out an annual policy rather than a 2 to 3 week policy. Okay, and I don't know what it costs now. Many people that travel there, it's like 60 quid, 70 quid for a policy. It always used to be something like that. But medical insurance, auto insurance, okay, or car insurance. You know, I didn't do these slides. Car insurance. Again, is a big one. You know, you go online and you find a car rental place and you see car rental for like $10 a day. Whoa, that's great. You suddenly get there and you say, oh, by the way, you haven't got insurance. You want full coverage, it's going to cost you an extra $30 a day. You know, so just be careful with the car insurance. Now, some of your insurance companies back here will cover you over there as well. So you might want to do some research with that. But car rental in general is pretty cheap over there, and you nearly always can bluff these guys into getting an upgrade. You know, you book a Ford Fiesta and you end up driving out of there with a Ford Mustang, you know, for the same price, apart from insurance. Okay, BPA/USPA, all right? So BPA does not cover you whatsoever in America. There is no coverage whatsoever. And the USPA, because it's so cheap, it's like you can do a temporary USPA membership and it will cost you $20 for the period that you're there. It covers you for 30 days, 90 days. It covers you for 90 days for USPA membership, and it's like $20. What do you get for that $20? Not a lot. You probably get, you get around, I think it's $50,000 to $55,000 of liability insurance. Okay, that's pretty good. So, and even that's what you get as a full member as well. Full membership cost for residents costs like $65. For traveling guys for you, foreign USPA membership, full membership is like $75, $76. You pay postage and paying for the magazine that you get sent to you every month. All right. But BPA, USPA, so you do have to join the USPA when you get to America. Military guys, a lot of drop zones give you the option. Okay, because you're on duty. I mean, for me personally, when I was in the military, obviously what I would do is I would take out USPA insurance regardless. You know, it's $20. So there you go. Because we needed it. You see some of the jumpers on my team. I'm holy crap. Love you too, Chris. Okay, drop zone DZ requirements. Okay, oh, there's San Diego again. The military side. Waivers. This is America. Okay, you sign your life away, and especially in California. All right, you sign to say that you're not going to sue, even if it's your fault. Okay, that's what you're basically signing. If you don't fill in the waiver, you ain't going to let you jump. So it's entirely up to you. Okay, do you read the waiver? No, let's face it, it's like all the documentation, sign. But you know, you want to be careful what you're signing for, to be honest. But you are signing basically to say releasing all liability from anything, you know, for you. Most of the waivers now are done online on most of the drop zones. You just go in there on a little iPad, just sign, and it's done. But you will need to fill in a waiver. Any other documentation, take any relevant BPA documentation with you. A lot of the drop zones, even though they see Brits passing through, military groups passing through, they still do not understand the system. You know, they all associate A, B, C, D licenses the same as theirs. You know, and I'm going to cover that in a minute. You know, so for instance, they think that D license you've got 500 jumps, whereas we know now D license over here is 1,000 jumps. You know, so. But yeah, they have this whole mentality of it's the USPA, so that's all that matters, you know. Safety brief, and obviously your experience level. If you're going out there, you're taking students, obviously that's easy. Looking after students, I find, is the easiest part in the world because you are big brother to them. You're looking after them. It's the experienced jumpers that are a frigging nightmare, okay? Because they suddenly leave England, they get to America, and they think they can have a free-for-all, hats off, jump in rubber dinghies, you know, big inflatables and everything else, skydiving through hoops, you know, all that stuff, which is great. You know, it's allowed on most of the big drop zones, but just think about it, what you're really doing. So, you're going to get a safety brief, obviously, on that drop zone. And that's something that obviously you need to have. And it's always worth as well, because, you know, especially the drop zones that I've worked at, you know, it's ever evolving, changing constantly. So therefore, you want to, you know, if you're there for a 2-week period and you come back to the UK and suddenly 12 months later you suddenly reappear, the manifest generally will say to you, okay, yeah, you're back, yeah, okay, you don't need a safety brief, etc. You're good. But just, you know, from a peace of mind, you want to find out if there's anything changed, you know what I mean? For instance, you know, I can use Paris as an example. You know, the landing area is got bigger, they have different flight path modes, the swoop pond has been filled in, you know, you cannot do anything over a 90-degree turn now. Swooping has been abolished at Paris because too many people were killing themselves and hooking themselves in. They had a swoop competition there and a national champion. Day 1, jump 1, round 1, and he killed himself. That was on the Saturday morning. First load, first jumper, and he was on the USPA canopy piloting team, and he bounced himself and killed himself. So competition, that's it. So yeah, so be familiar with the safety brief, and it doesn't matter how many times you go. Familiarise yourself every time you arrive at the drop zone. Other associated costs. We all know there's costs involved with getting your ass on the aircraft, like a jump slot price. You know, are there any other associated costs? You know, training costs, what's the coach going to cost? You know, other things like that to take into account. If you're in a group, then you split the cost. You know, accommodations and all the other factors need to be taken into account. Gear inspection, if applicable. A lot of guys, military especially, they come completely self-contained. And they're the best people to have, because all they're doing is they're using you as the facilitator. Okay, you are just providing a facility for their services. And it's the same as you guys. You just basically want to get on an aircraft, get to 12,500 feet and jump. All right. And I'll cover gear slightly in more detail shortly. But gear inspections, if you've got student gear with you, have you got your experience gear? Are the reserve dates the same? You know, can we jump our gear, etc., etc.? Is it TSO'd? And again, I'll cover that very, very briefly shortly. Student training, and then this is applicable if you decide that you're going to take students. A good thing, and this is, you know, this is good for you guys. Is always a good note when we sometimes get the 4-way teams, even if you're free flying. Okay, even if you're going to a drop zone free flying, if you're going FS training, try and find a student. Okay, try and find a couple of buddies back here, a couple of mates. Some people that are interested in skydiving, hey, come to America. Then deal with the drop zone and say, look, I want to bring a couple of students. However, we've got a limited budget. Can we put them through a jump slot price? We'll pay the instructors. You know, at the end of the day, you're still putting bums on seats. All right, you're still going to the top. You're still making a little bit of money for the drop zone on top of what you're going. So basically, you charge the student whatever you want. You get to the drop zone, you pay the slot price, then you pay for whatever, you know, the instructor price, and you make a profit that will go spent on your training. So a lot of groups come out, they bring like a handful of students with them, and that helps offset. It doesn't cover everything, but it may cover all your jumps, you know. So if you can, and you're planning on going with a group, try and take some students with you, because that helps. And it gives them a bit of a holiday as well, you know. Do you have any current BPA instructors, coaches, anything whatsoever on site? That's one of the most important things that I would always research. Has this instructor got a BPA rating? You know, there are drop zones out there that have instructors have BPA ratings, especially now with the loophole in the BPA system. Whereas before, if you were a foreign USPA AFF instructor, I'm using AFF because that's the most common. If you were a foreign USPA instructor, or as a Brit, if you had a USPA rating, you think you could go in through the back door. You couldn't. You know what I mean? Because you had to do the whole course complete. Now, it's not the case. You can, guys from America can do what they call, they can come in through the back door. As long as they meet the requirements of the BPA Ops Manual. Have they got 1,000 jumps? Have they got 10 hours of free fall? Have they got this and that? So there are loopholes. So you're starting to find more drop zones with Americans having BPA ratings, basically. Only at the bigger drop zones. Suitability. Look at the drop zone, look at everything about the drop zone. You know, is it suitable for you to take my guy to that drop zone and put him through an AFF program, all right? That really speaks for itself. The time of the year / the weather, and I refer to Florida again. Are you going to go to Florida at certain times of the year? Probably not. You know, the West Coast by far has the most stable climate. You can pretty much guarantee January through December, doesn't matter what time of the year, you're going to get reasonably good weather. Reasonably good weather. If you get there and you get 2 weeks of crappy weather, then somebody's not looking down on you very well. Okay? Your duration. You know, how long have you got? How long have you got out there? I get phone calls time and time again from really Americans, because Brits don't go out there for 2 or 3 days. Duration. Hey Tony, I've only got 2 or 3 days. I've only got 2 or 3 days at the drop down. Can I do my AFF course? I'm like, probably not, but we'll get what we can done. You know. I had 3 years ago, I had 7 SBS. We all know the SBS, right? You've heard of the SAS, of course. So it's the maritime section, Special Boat Squadron. Okay, I had 7 guys phone me. They were actually in theatre or in-house out there at El Centro, which is the military training site. And they phoned me and said, Tony, I've got 7 guys I want to bring up on, we've got 3 days. Can we get an A license? Not just AFF. And I was like, not a chance. Not a chance. I said, but come on up, we'll get what you can done. Okay. They came up, say on the Monday, I can't remember the exact day, they came up on the Monday, we did the ground training and level 1 and 2 that same day. Then the day 2 we did level 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all of them. And day 3 we did all their 10 consoles. They got an A license in basically 2.5 days generally because they were ground training that the first day. So it can be done, but of course a lot of it's on student ability as well. So how long have you got? You know, that's to take that into account. Understanding the syllabus, you putting them through the USPA system or you putting them through the BPA system? Are they out there for just the AFF portion? Are they going to get an A license? Okay, because obviously the A license for the USPA is 25 jumps. The A license for the BPA is obviously 18 at a minimum. All right. So the A license requirements for a USPA, because you can't just take a student to the drop zone and say, I want him to go through the BPA system, but you've got no BPA instructors. Therefore, you only want him to do 18 jumps. Can't do it. Okay. So if you're just going to hand the students over to their school, they've got to go through the USPA system. A license, 25 jumps. Okay. And it's a lot more technical as well. And with that, the license requirement. All right. The AFF system in America is very, very similar, levels 1 to 7. Their hop and pop is not part of the AFF program. Okay, like us, it's level 8. Over there, it's level 1 to 7, and that's it. All right, and then they integrate the level 8, or the hop and pop they call it. It's not even a level. The hop and pop is integrated into the remaining 17 jumps, whatever it is, after the AFF. Okay, so they have to do 5 coach jumps. All right. 5 coach jumps, you've got to do some solo jumps, you've got to do a packing course, etc. So it's a little bit more technical. To get the A license through the USPA is somewhat more technical than the BPA. Where it falls down, and I have to say that I'm going to put some British. The BPA system is by far superior because you're looked after throughout your student process. All right, you have to be dispatched by an instructor. How many times have I seen the student comes off the AFF program, he's still a student because he hasn't got his 25 jumps. You then sat on the aircraft, climbing to altitude, and suddenly you see a kid sat opposite you and he's got his chest strap misrouted, the classic cutaway pad, he's tucked back there, and he's just sat there. Because don't forget, there's no flight line check-in in America. Okay? Basically, you just walk to the flight line, you sit there, when the aircraft pulls up, you get on board, and that's it. Okay? It's all computerized manifesting, you know. And these kids are still students, but there's no instructor living to help them, nobody. So once they come off the AFF program, unless they're then doing a coach jump, which of course they're looked after by a coach stroke instructor, they're on their own until they get their 25 jumps. And time again, chest straps, leg straps, too loose. Chest straps misrouted. We've all seen that. I sit there with the student, I'm like, you might want to, you know, nobody's going to say anything. So, you know, no altimeter, you know, sometimes no helmets, all that sort of stuff, fun and games, you know, because nobody looks after them. Returning documentation. Okay, so if you have BPA guys with you, that's easily done because you can download the CH forms, the application for license forms, BPA membership forms, the medical forms if applicable, etc. All right, but who's going to sign them? Okay, who's going to sign him off at A license? Who's going to sign him off that he's completed the AFF program? Who's going to sign him off for a CH? Blah 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 blah. Okay, because the moment they get back to the UK, any chief instructor is going to look at it and go, well, this is a US, I don't know, basically. And there's nothing to say, nothing stopping him completely redoing the whole thing. All right, not so much the AFF, but it's all like this. Okay, drop-down operators, doesn't matter where you are, will and can, or can and will, for instance, say, oh, I want to see you go and do a level 3. I want to see you go and do a level 7. The CAD course, as we used to call it, the graduation dive. You know what I mean? Solo dive, left turn, right turn, back loop, through track, through the 90-degree track turn. And they don't need to do it. They've only done it 2 days ago. You know what I mean? Been signed off by a USPA instructor, but I'm not saying that they will, but they could make you redo that. All right? And I know that has happened. So if you have, this goes back to the research of the drop zone where you're going to go, do they have a BPA instructor there? You need at least a BPA instructor. Remember, to sign off the CH, to sign off a license, to go outside membership or anything like that, doesn't necessarily have to be an advanced instructor. The advanced instructor comes for the A license form, of course, but as far as canopy handling, that can be just an instructor, so that comes back to the research. Experience training. And I don't mean that sort of experience training either. Experience training, oh look, San Diego again. Am I saying San Diego? Again, this speaks for itself, guys. Choose the right drop zone, depending on the discipline that you're going out there to achieve, all right? If you're going out there free fly training, choose a drop zone that's got, that does a lot of free flying, basically, all right? The suitability, again, like going back to the previous one, the time of the year, against the weather, again, how long have you got, how much is your budget, what are you going to spend, the gear and reserve repacks. Remember as well that riggers in the United States are governed by the FAA, all right? It's not a rigging qualification like over here. So it's nothing to do with parachuting whatsoever. It's covered through the Federal Aviation Administration. I was just about to say authority, there you go. So that's who looks after the riggers, all right? Now, and because then the gear has to be TSO'd as well, and it has to have a seal. Now, not one drop zone does this. However, they could, if they wanted, you turn up with a Mirage, with a Javelin, and it's been packed by a rigger back here, and you haven't got a seal on your reserve repack, they could make you unpack it and get it repacked by one of their riggers, because it has to be TSO'd. Yes?
What about if you've got a rig that's not TSA?
Like a teardrop?
An SWS.
It's fine. As an experienced jumper, you're fine with any type of gear. As long as your reserve repack is in date, then you're going to be fine. Okay? And they will honour, obviously, if there's a difference in it. Over here, it's, correct me if I'm wrong, I've been out of the system a long time. It's 6 months, right? Or is it 180 days?
6 months.
It's 6 months. So in the States, it's 180 days. Okay, for the reserve repack. So they sort of do this with each other. They will, of course, honour any of the reserve repacks over here, but the FAA and the rigging seal is quite important, right? Because a seal, correct me if I'm wrong, is not important. It's not a mandatory requirement over here. You don't have to seal the reserves. Yeah, you don't have to seal the reserves. In the US, you do. Because that's a TSO requirement and is governed by the FAA. Okay, so just take that one on board, guys. But don't worry if your reserve's not sealed, but you're in date, they'll honour that. They will.
There's been a few stories about Eloy all of a sudden changing their mind and actually asking people to enforcing that.
What, a seal?
Yeah.
Okay.
For British Skylanders, but I've checked with drop zones in Florida. I know Paris don't do that.
Paris don't, and I only got this information literally 2 days ago from Jay Stokes, again, the president of the USPA.
It's good to email, I'm sure.
Jay Stokes?
No, in general, the drop
Oh, right, yes, absolutely, absolutely, or the next reserve repack you have, just tell them to seal it.
Yeah.
Just tell the rigger to seal it, it's as simple as that. So long as they see some kind of seal, that's all they need. So the repacks, again, I just highlighted the coaching associated costs that come with it, guys. Every coach normally works on a daily rate rather than a per jump rate, okay? Because if you come in and you do 2 jumps, they've taken up their whole day, they've given up their whole day, you will pay them. Normally, all the coaching out there is paid on a daily rate. And if they're jumping with you, you pay for their jump slots as well. Okay? And the daily rate ranges between, I can tell you now, this industry standard is between $350 and $700 a day is what they earn as coaches. The likes of people like Dan BC, like for instance in Paris, if you were to go to Paris, Dan BC was basically the original founder of Arizona Airspeed. I'm sure you're all familiar with that team. He's the general manager at Paris. He'll just go into his office, put a rig on, go up and jump you for nothing. You know what I mean? He's that kind of guy. But on average, if you want a world-class coaching by national, international champions, it doesn't matter whether it's free flying or wingsuiting or FS, you're looking at, on average, $500 to $600 a day for the coaching, for sure. That's where the student thing comes in. Take a frigging student, pay for the coaching. You know what I mean? Instructional ratings and renewals. All right. A lot of people now are going over to America and they're getting their USPA ratings because they come back here and then they can start using their AFF rating in the UK as long as, you know what, that's what I was just telling you earlier on. So it's like the constant movement of the cog.
Is it easier for like the AFF American?
If you already have BPA ratings, okay, and I'm going to use the AFF rating here as an example, right? If you have a BPA AFF rating and you want to go to America, and I'm using myself then as an example, and you want to become a USPA AFF instructor, you can do the challenge course. Okay, you can challenge the course on any rating. So the ratings are coach rating, which is basically our BI rating. That's the coach rating. You have an IAD, instructor assisted deployment / static line, and you have the AFF instructor, and you have the tandem instructor. They don't have any more. They used to. They don't have advanced instructors, and they don't have chief instructors. Okay. They have instructor examiners. So obviously these guys are the ones that are going to evaluate you on your courses. To do the challenge course, they are all about, like the BPA, if you want to come over here and challenge the course, they are all about understanding the system rather than understanding the skydive. Okay, because they already expect you to understand the skydive because you already got an instructor rating. So more emphasis is put on understanding the USPA system. So when I was doing it with Reg, me and a friend of mine, we did the challenge AFF course. We spent 3/4 of the frigging day doing USPA rank school, and we did one evaluation check, and we got our AFF ratings, USPA. If you don't have any ratings at all, okay, you first have to go and get a coach rating. All right, you need at least 100 jumps to get yourself, which is nothing. 100 jumps to get yourself a coach rating. All right, to become an AFF instructor, you need to have at least at a minimum the C license, and you need to have. There's no requirement, but you need to have at least 500 parachute jumps. All right. So you can see now, if you get an AFF rating in America, you come back to the UK, you've got a USPA AFF rating, you want a BPA AFF rating, but you've got, say, 600 jumps. You can't do it, even as a USPA instructor, you need to meet the 1,000 and the 10 hours of freefall. Okay? So, they're not going to let you do it. But, the AFF course in general, all I'm going to say is, the BPA AFF course, it's like and they specifically treat you like a student. So basically, if you're going on your AFF instructor course, you have no idea what that evaluator is going to do. It will say time in. Have any of you AFF instructors? No. They will say time in on your course, and they are the student, you know, walking all over the place. From you walk out to the aircraft, flight line check them, get them on the airplane, the skydive. Time out comes when he says time out, usually after the debrief at the end. The USPA course, you know exactly what's going to happen on that skydive. The evaluator will say, okay, I'm going to get into the door, I'm going to go unstable on exit, when you let me go, I am going to do 2 360s really quickly and I'm going to go on my back. We want to see what you can do. So,
Wow.
yeah. So you know what's going to happen, so you can prepare yourself. And it's not marked on a number system, it's either satisfactory or unsatisfactory on their system. Okay? Tandem and coach AFF ratings, etc. You know, at the front here, guys, I've got a skydiver information manual and I've got an instructor rating manual. I don't really need to take them back. So if only one of you wants it, you're more than welcome to take it. All right. But in there is everything you need to know about basically the requirements for all the USPA ratings, including the ones I've just explained to you about. And the Skydivers information manual is pretty much their operations manual, all right? But it's, like I said to you, it's recommendations, not rules, all right? That's the difference, okay? But you can, if you want, take it away with you. Membership for the USPA and the rating renewal is done from the time you join. It doesn't go from March to March. So if you become a USPA member in March, you've got till next March. If you become a USPA member in October, it goes through to the following October. If you become a member in October, then you suddenly get your AFF rating in February. Your AFF rating expires in February. Your membership expires in the October. You see what I'm saying?
With the D license, can you convert that or not? Or do you have to be able to?
Yeah, so long as you meet the requirement. It's all to do with the specific
Yeah,
requirements.
some of them we have to like do water jumps and do night jumps, isn't it? In the US?
Yeah, to be specific, and I wrote them down, but I did memorize them. The D license is 500 jumps and 3 hours of freefall. That's it. Okay. C license, 200 jumps, 60 minutes in freefall, so an hour. Okay. The coach rating, you must have a B license and 100 jumps, and you must have completed the coach proficiency card. All right. Now, there's canopy handling and canopy piloting as part of the B license, okay, which is 50 jumps, the same as ours, and canopy piloting proficiency card. The A license, as I explained, is 25 jumps. The IAD, or static line, you've got to be C license with 200 jumps. Tandem instructor, okay, you've got to have 500 jumps. 500 jumps on a ram air parachute is exactly how it's worded. Okay, you have to have 3 years in the sport, and you have to have the class 3 medical like they have over here from an aviation doctor. All right. So it's very similar, although the tandem over here is 800 jumps, right, and 8 hours of free fall. Yeah. So the rules are more stringent over here, and like I said, if you want to do the challenge course, both within the BPA and the USPA, both sets, you have to meet what their requirements are. All right. So if you've got them here, you won't have a problem over there. So if you've got them over there, you have to meet the jump requirements and the hours of free fall over here. Wind tunnels. Okay, there are still, to this date, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, within the US, only 2 facilities that have wind tunnels as part of the skydiving facility, and that is Paris and Eloy, Arizona. Okay, that still only have wind tunnels. Now they are, as you can see, they are going up everywhere. Some of them quite close to drop zones. Again, I'm talking West Coast, San Diego. Okay, San Diego has the latest and greatest iFly 7th generation wind tunnel, 10 minutes from the drop zone in Mission Valley. Okay, so it's only 10 minutes away. It's a 15 foot, which is really weird. Normally they're 10, 12, 14, or 16. This one is 15 feet in diameter, located 10 minutes away in Mission Valley, which is again 10 minutes from downtown San Diego. Paris has one on site. Great. Let's face it, Paris was the very first facility to have anything, the wind tunnel on site, because they wanted to be better. Back in the day, it was great, and it still is. But they are struggling now with, especially with the military, trying to get a 300-pound guy who's 300 pounds soaking wet, okay, with a 100-pound rucksack and a 30-pound dummy rig off the net. You know, because like you can see when they turn the power up, you see all the lights in Paris go, where they're trying to sap all the electricity. You know, so for basic training, and also sometimes they struggle as well with the free flying inside the wind tunnel. Eloy is almost like, because Paris's was 1st generation, Eloy I think was like 2nd generation, and they made it slightly bigger. So Paris is 12 feet, Eloy is 14 feet, yes it is, 14 feet. But you've now got Oceanside, which is 3/4 of an hour from Paris. You've got Ontario Mills, which is 20 minutes from Paris, so they're opening, it's got a brand new wind tunnel. San Diego has the one I just explained. There was going to be 2. There was going to be another one downtown, Buzz Fink, who was the owner of Tactical Air Operations. He started construction on a wind tunnel. He was going to have two tunnels side by side, 2 flying areas, one for the military, one for the civilian side. He invested millions, and it all went fell through. So we lost everything. If you're going to do wind tunnel training, you know, a location is obviously very important to where you're skydiving, or are you just going wind tunnel training? I don't know. You know, on average, wind tunnel costs in America are substantially cheaper. I don't know what they are over here than what they are over here. But on average, I know that if you're coming over as a group and you're going to do block time, you're looking at anywhere between $650 and $750 per hour for wind tunnel time. The size, of course, for instance, if you're going 8-way training, you're not going to go to a 10-foot wind tunnel, you know. So size is obviously almost very important. On average, I think the most sizes for wind tunnels are 12 or 14 feet still, okay, which you can do 8-way in a 14-foot tunnel, but you can see what's happening. As they're becoming more popular, the tunnels are becoming bigger, all right, so yeah, so keep your eye on that one, you know, location, size, price, etc., wind tunnel. You know, you're in there, you're on your own, you don't really need coaching, you don't need this, etc. for the wind tunnel training. And again, there you have it. That's a picture of the new Skydive San Diego wind tunnel. All right, we've got the pictures there. You've got the military guide, pretty much, and it's co-located as well, believe it or not, with the Marriott suites. So if you want accommodation as well, it's right next door. Literally, well, I took that picture from the entrance to the hotel. So yeah, it's perfect, and of course you see the blue sky. The size of what training requirements are. I just spoke about that. Free flying. You know, I've even seen people sky surfing in wind tunnels. You know, which is that's pretty neat. Associated costs, obviously, that come with the tunnel. So, just to conclude, guys. All right. Have I missed anything? I feel that I've missed something. Probably not. But skydiving in the States is fun. People go there a lot. I mean, we see a lot of Brits, okay, mainly because of the weather. But skydiving in the States can be fun, but it's also daunting at the same time. The biggest thing with the States against Europe is you haven't got the language barrier, of course, that you've got to contend with. But on the drop zone, most people can normally get by with English, you know. No matter what drop zone you go to in Europe, it's when you're off the drop zone where it becomes a bit of a problem, right? But in the States, you haven't got that problem, although in California you have, because that's, you know, so. I remember when I first moved there, somebody said to me, okay Tony, when you get to America, you've got on your right hand, you've got the United States of America, on your left hand, you've got California. And I was like, really? And he marked my words, he was right. Okay, so it can be daunting at the same time, okay? Just do your research to make your trip the most enjoyable and financially economical, because at the end of the day, that's what it all boils down to, it's cost. Okay, how much is your budget? And especially if you're going as a group, how much have you got as a whole as a budget, right? Because there is such a huge diversity with the prices of the US drop zones, because again, it depends where you are. California, it all goes on, as they call it, petrol or gas prices, okay, electricity prices, especially if you're going wind tunnel training. Arizona, Eloy, for instance, is the cost of living in Arizona is, if not one of the cheapest in the whole United States, all right, because you're living in a desert, all right. California is, of course, the most expensive. Well, California, New York, San Francisco is in California, but California is by far the most expensive state, okay, as in general. So definitely do your research. Where do you want to go? Research weather. But the further south you head, doesn't matter whether you're East Coast or West Coast, you're going to get the better weather. All right, guys. If you've got any questions, I'm here for the rest of the evening. Come find me. You know. Thanks, Chris. I didn't ask you. You've got the skydiving information manual here, fellas. Instructor rating manual. If you want to take it, I'm just going to leave it there so you can take it. Because I don't intend on taking it back to the States.
You know when you're doing your parachute jumping, can you breathe in free fall?
Oh, you obviously couldn't.
You obviously eat pies when you're doing it.
Yes, go on.
Is there much opportunity for work out there for UK?
They are drop zones. Trust me, drop zones are constantly looking for instructors.
Is it easy for them?
But most drop zones now, the big ones especially, have clamped down on paying cash because the IRS is now getting on top of them. You know, they're still like, for instance, Packers. They pack for cash. You know, Packers do. The Packers are the creatures of the drop zone. You know, nobody likes them. Everybody hates them. But they keep the drop zone going, unfortunately. You know what I mean? So, but instructor qualifications, every drop zone. I'll give you an example. Every drop, and what you can potentially earn. Oceanside. Okay, Oceanside is a tandem sausage factory. All right, they're in an ideal location. San Diego is a huge tandem factory because of the location. You know, San Diego, tourists and everything else. Oceanside is probably busier. They do a lot through the, what they call Groupon. You've all heard of Groupon, okay? They're huge with Groupon, but their instructors still get paid the same. They get on average, they don't get as much over there, but they do 3 times as much, you know, as much jumping. On average, the price what an instructor gets for a jump is between $35 and $45. That's what they get. But when they're doing 15 tandems a day, every single day of the week, you work it out. You know, you can choose your time off, you can do whatever you want, and weekends are even busier. And Oceanside pay cash still.
Is there many UK jumpers go over there for that to work? Or
Yeah, yeah.
Is there any visa issues with that? Or?
No, what I would suggest, you can come in on 90 days on your passport. British
No, I
passport.
mean for working.
Yeah, well, you've got to find somewhere that's going to pay cash. You know, or you can get a temporary visa. You know, that website that I gave you there. Go to that website, and they can also help you with everything to do with immigration and everything else. To get a visa nowadays is that's what Trump now. You know, he's building that wall and everything else. You know, he's the restrictions on immigration are very much stricter. You know, so. But I don't know if the whole visa process has changed or what. I really don't know. But if you can get a visa, so that way you can get a social security number, which is the same as like our national insurance number, then you're golden. You know what I mean? So you can then take cash. You can open a bank account over there anytime. You know, you don't need to be a resident to go over there. You can just walk into a bank in America and just say, hey, I want to open an account. Okay, show me some ID, and it's done. You know, so yeah, but to work, unless if you cannot find a drop zone that pays cash, in fact, where I am, Skydive San Diego, they pay cash. Yeah, it's really weird. They actually give the cash to the student, who then has to go and give it to the instructor in little envelopes. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, guys. No worries. Thanks again.